Welcome to week 1 of the Judge Yourself Less movement, and this week our focus will be on judging ourselves less. It has to start with that. That of course won't be the focus only this week. It needs to be the focus from here on in, but it's the perfect starting place, and we will expand from that place each week. But we won't, of course, leave that place. It'll just be, there'll be a focus to each week, and we'll continue to use that and the knowledge that'll kind of bring the little bit of extra awareness that will come with each video, will help you to build on the knowledge from the week before, but sometimes also actually get more insight into, a topic that was another week. So, why do we need to start with judging ourselves less? Well, because we can't give something we don't have to give. I've done a video on this before where I've said that to think that you can be a kind, caring, sensitive, loving, accepting person to somebody else when you are not those things to yourself, to think that you have those things to give when you are not giving them to yourself is as misguided as thinking that you can lend somebody $1 million when you just physically do not have that to lend. So we start with ourselves because we can't give what we don't have. In the introduction video, I also spoke about the fact that there is an energy that exists around us. It swirls around us, through us, between us, and it is a collective pot that we are adding to. We add to it whatever, with our thoughts, our actions, our beliefs, we add to this collective pot. We're all connected to it, and we all add to it and we all receive from it. Let's take that back. To be more specifically about us. We each have an internal environment that is also our own energetic environment that we are adding to and that we exist in. I want you to start thinking of yourself like the ruler of the land and your body, on whatever way you want to think of that, on a physical level, on an emotional level, energetic, spiritual, I don't really mind. Whatever words you like, whatever suits you. If you're a very physically based person, then think about physically your body is your land. This is an environment in which your cells exist, your muscles, your organs, you kind of live in this space. And you are the ruler. And what kind of a ruler are you being right now? Are you a very harsh ruler? Are you very judgmental? Are you kind? Are you caring? Are you living in a harsh, judgmental place? Or are you living in a kind, caring space where you can thrive? Because here's the thing, nothing thrives in a harsh environment. It just doesn't. It can survive, you can be surviving, but if the environment that you are trying to live in, that you are living in, if it's very harsh, judgmental, if it feels like a war zone, if it's full of criticism and disharmony, then most likely you're not going to be thriving. And it's going to feel not very good to live in that land. And a lot of the times you might be thinking that you're not feeling very good because of outside things. And look, maybe sometimes it is. We'll get to that. But let's start this week by focusing on what kind of a place are we making for us to live in? What kind of a ruler am I? Ask yourself that question throughout this week. Get really conscious of, if this is my land, how am I ruling? What kind of an environment do you want to be existing in? Because you are responsible for this thing. You have all the power and control over your environment. So start to become very conscious and very mindful of what you're putting into it. So you're adding to it with your thoughts, your beliefs, and your actions. The other really important thing that I want you to start doing is to remind yourself of this as being your truth. My perception of this is everything. So as something occurs, as you encounter something, as you yourself are doing something, because remember, the focus is on us. The focus is on us this week. My perception of this is everything. So how I perceive this can either mean that I beat myself up, or it can mean that I build myself up. That's kind of one of the vital key things that I want you to take from this week. My perception of this is everything. I can either use this to build myself up, or I can use this to beat myself up. You can see anything that you have done as an achievement or a failure. Obviously, if you see it as an achievement, you will build yourself up. If you see it as a failure, you will beat yourself up. What your focus is on throughout your day, throughout your week, what you believe about yourself. Now, this isn't about being positive all the time. This isn't about thinking that, everything you do is wonderful and fantastic. We want to be with where we find ourselves. It's okay to look at ourselves and be unhappy with what we see. It's okay to have the desire to be fitter, to be healthier. They are more healthy and more appealing desires than, say, for example, to be thinner. To be thinner, fair enough desire. Go for it. 99% of people will understand that you have that desire and probably either have it or have at some point had it themselves. It's not a desire, though, that is necessarily maybe how you want to rule your land, because there's a lot of judgment in that. It's sort of saying, I am not enough the way I am. It's okay to have a desire, though, to be other than where you currently find yourself. So sit with where you are. Bring acceptance to where you are. Not every day has to be happy. Not everything has to be wonderful. Let it be okay to be sad. Let it be okay to be angry. Let it be okay to even feel like, I kind of wish I'd done that differently, or I let myself down. It's okay to have that realization. Please understand, just like I really reinforced in the first video, you are here to be human, and it is okay to be human. And to be human means to have an array of emotions. It means to feel disappointment and angry and at times powerless, and it means to be unhappy with your body or with your job or what you're earning, or to wish and desire for more than or for other. Sit with where you are right now. Bring acceptance to where you are right now. That doesn't mean that things won't change. That actually just means you're neutralizing the land. You're bringing some peace to the land. You're saying, where I am right now isn't fabulous. It doesn't feel great, but it's okay. I'm just going to sit with it right now. So throughout this week, the acceptance aspect throughout this week that will really help you to neutralize the environment that you're in, or to bring peace, hopefully even peace, is accept where you find yourself, accept your feelings. Let's let go of the judgment that we're always meant to be a particular way. Let's let go of the judgment that it's not okay to, feel unhappy with our bodies. All of it is okay. All of it is normal. All of it is human. Start feeling into, though, how it makes you feel to then have that judgment. Don't judge the judgment. say this week you're on the road, you're driving along and you think, okay, I'm doing this judge less thing, better not judge. That's not even necessarily the purpose of this whole thing. Say you are driving along and you find yourself getting really annoyed with the person driving in front of you, the fact that they're driving really slowly. So you find yourself annoyed. Take a breath and allow yourself to be annoyed. Bring your mindfulness to the situation. So bring that voice that's constantly chattering anyway. Remember, you're the ruler of your land. So instead of it being an unconscious running dialogue of negativity and criticism and really just madness that's going on in everybody's head to some degree, bring some sanity to it, bring some mindfulness and some purpose to it. Find yourself in traffic, you find yourself annoyed. Let it be okay that you're annoyed. Say to yourself, it's fair enough that I'm annoyed, but this isn't bringing me what I want. This is bringing disharmony to my environment. That doesn't work for me. I know that doesn't work for me because I've been doing it for a really long time. So it's fair enough that I'm annoyed. And I'm going to allow myself to feel annoyed, and then I'm going to allow myself to not feel annoyed. I'm just going to allow. We won't go too much into what we'll allow about the driver in front of you because our focus is on ourselves this week, but of course already start kind of applying that to other people as well. You know, if it helps you to think, okay, I don't know the full story, I'm not sure where they're going or why they're driving so slowly, I'm going to let myself be annoyed, and then I'm going to remind myself that by bringing peace and harmony to this situation, I'm going to just feel better in the environment that I exist in, and I'm going to be conscious about that and mindful about that and allow that. I'll allow myself to feel it, and then I'll allow it to go when it feels like it's past without holding onto it, because the thing that judgment does, remember I said judgment keeps things heavy, stuck, it keeps them a burden. So you do the judge less movement, you hop in the car, somebody annoys the absolute crap out of you by driving really slowly in front of you, and then instead of being annoyed at them for driving slowly, you find yourself judging yourself for judging them. What is the point? At some stage, it needs to be let go. But let's respect ourselves for our humanness, where we find ourselves. It's okay to feel all sorts of emotions. And the thing is, when we actually allow ourselves to feel them, they don't get stuck. They don't get buried deep in some kind of locked cupboard under the stairs of all the emotions that I feel that I'm not meant to feel. But I do feel them, and so there they are, and they're kind of festering below the surface, and they're running the show anyway. And then they lead to illness and disease, or they lead to anxiety or depression because we've never really let them come to the surface. So it's okay for those things to just stay there for now. If you're aware of some things, start where you are. Start by, it's okay when you get angry. It's okay when you feel frustrated. Don't attach judgment to it. So there's that element of this week. And then there's the element of, I actually want you to start to purposefully look for evidence of your achievements and for evidence of your competence and your worthiness. So here's the thing why we're so harsh with ourselves and so judgmental. Here are some of the whys. It will always be because we don't see the worth and value in ourselves that we can see outside of ourselves. If I say to you, most of you will be harsh and judgmental with the words, with how you speak to yourself. Let's start there. Let's start with a kinder, softer, gentler approach to ourselves in how we speak to ourselves. Now, I say that to clients all the time, and then they say to me, but how? But I don't know how. So here are some of the hows. Imagine that what you're saying to yourself, that your children are hearing. Imagine actually that you would speak like that to your children if you have children. If you don't have children, imagine somebody having spoken like that to you when you were a child. Now, maybe they did. Maybe they did, but let's start today with where we find ourselves. Let's start in this moment. For right now, we're going to take responsibility for the words we say to ourselves, how we speak to ourselves, and the environment that we exist in. We're going to take responsibility for being the ruler of our own land and for the things that exist in that land, our body, our mind, our whole experience really exists in our internal environment. We're going to take responsibility for being the ruler and the programmer, and we're going to consciously create an environment in which we can thrive and not just survive. We'll take responsibility for that by firstly how we speak to ourselves. And it can help us to know how should we do that, certainly by being conscious, but also by putting some things in place like, would I speak like that to a child? Would I be upset if somebody else spoke to me like that? I mean, here's the irony of it. That if other people spoke to us in the way we speak to ourselves, we would be mortified, we would be offended. We would probably ring 15 people on the phone and speak to them and say, oh my God, you won't believe what so-and-so said to me today. You would be absolutely mortified if people spoke to you the way you speak to yourself. So here's a clue on where to soften up. Would you say that statement to your child? Would you say it to a child? Would it be okay if it was said to you as a child? If the answer to those things is no, stop saying them